Hello, Professor. My name is Ephraim Morales Jr. I'm a member of your class, CPT 310, Database Management and Systems, and this is my final project video for week 5. So I'm just going to start quick by just introducing how many tables I went under and why I went about this way. Personally, this is my first experience with a database, and I wanted to keep it as simple, but also as concise as possible. As you can see, I went with about 6 tables, each just going about what I think would function attribute-wise with what you would need in an online database for ordering food specifically. As you can see, we got a customer table here, and it contains just 2 entries right now. It has the attribute of customer ID, username, password, first name, last name, email, phone, and address. My next table is the menu item table, which also contains item ID, restaurant ID, name, description, price, and availability. I do think, especially with price and availability, that's something important to keep track of, especially if you're a food-based business. As someone who currently works in a food-based business, wholesale-wise, it is really important, from my experience, that you keep inventory and finances on check. And databases, especially what this class has taught me, is that databases essentially help with that. I know in my experience, we get reports every day from my current employer, from pricing to how much prices change day by day, week by week, and how it affects our customers, demographics, and what we should do to either gain more sales or adapt. Nonetheless, here's the next table. Same thing, very straightforward. Order ID, customer ID, restaurant ID, order date, total amount, and status. And as you can see with each table, they're straightforward as heck. Restaurant ID, name, location, phone, email. It's the restaurant table and cuisine type. We also have an employee table and employee audit. So, as you can see, I'm split screening here just so I can really show off what I'm kind of doing, and I want to be able to base the user guide I made off of what I'm speaking of, so that when you grade all 3 of these things with the zip file, that it all makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and go and review creation queries for each table. So I'm not going to read exactly what I wrote out, but I'm just going to kind of explain what I went about creating these. As you can see, I just used the create table function with customer as a name, and just filled each box with an attribute that I find is necessary for a customer table. So we go on the left side here, we can see everything I added on here on the right side with customer ID, unique identifier for customer, username, also you can unique identifier for username's login, password, customer's first name, last name, email, phone, address, just general contact information you would need from a customer. Next table would be restaurant ID, my restaurant table, pardon me. And that will need to contain restaurant ID, location, name, phone, email of the restaurant, and the cuisine type the restaurant creates. Every restaurant's individual. We all know that each restaurant has its own demographic, whether it's Italian, American, fast food, Hispanic or Latino, Asian food, any culture really that is in a certain business type. It's gonna be affected here, and that's why I really wanted to put cuisine type on there to make sure that we can identify each form of cuisine that is made for each restaurant. The next table here is the order table, and as you can see, it's also straightforward. I think we're already in here, pardon me. So in the order table, as you can see, there's an order ID, customer ID, as we already went through, and each attribute I believe is necessary for the order table, especially with status, how much it costs, the order date, which a restaurant is coming from via restaurant ID, which customer it's for via customer ID, and what ID number the order itself contains. All these things matter because they all correlate within each other to create the information I would need or my business would need as an online food orderer to help the customer and help myself all around, right? because all data is to help us stay informed on what we need to support ourselves, whether that's finances, inventory, or customer demographics, how we're gonna make money, you know. So the next table is, pardon me, where am I here? So order table, and then we're gonna go to menu item table. And as you can see, same thing, there's a description, there's a price, availability, and then finally we have the table employee and the table audit. The audit is used via triggers, and the triggers are just to, well, as obvious as it seems, to audit the employee data so that there's nothing redundant, no repeats, and also so that whenever someone's taking hour in, the audit will essentially record when it was added on and when it was deleted. That trigger is in there so that my database can kind of audit itself. Obviously, it still needs the attention of a person, but nonetheless, it's something that is necessary for a legitimate database that needs to be efficient. And then, as we can see, the create table for the audit field, straightforward ID, audit ID, and then the employee field, which includes employee ID, first name, last name, contact information like email, phone number, their hire date, job title, department salary, and manager ID if that applies to a specific employee that is a manager. I do believe that if I wanted to get even more into this database, I could add a manager table and even add like an ID, manager ID table with maybe their responsibilities. I think that would actually is something I would add on to with more time if I had more time, unfortunately. But that's something that I think is definitely a necessary adjustment for this database. And as you can see here, the screenshots to input, populate data is very straightforward. What you do is insert into customer, and then from there, as you can see, I use regular, really generic names like John Doe, password 123, and then first name John, last name Doe, John Doe at example.com as an example email with the phone number and the address, right? And if we look at table employee here, I click on the left side, you'll see that Alice Johnson is a manager, sales rep, 60,000 a year, and null the ID, right? And developer, IT Bob. Everybody's gonna have an IT if it's a main, a big chain. So it's just ways to add in. Is the way to populate it. It's very straightforward. I find it very similar to coding. And from there, as you can see, the audit table will auto-populate when you add that information in there. On the left side here, you go on audit here, you'll see that it'll add all this on here. And overall, that's very straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and do one more thing and show you my designer, just so I can show you the tables and how they're effective. Just reorder these real quick, just so they look a little cleaner. As you can see, the only table that is currently not too affected by this is the employee audit and the table for employees in general. As you can see, everything else connects. And the audit's there to audit everything and carry any changes from the employee table. As I said before, I kept the structure of this table this database very simple, just for my own sake, because I am new to this, but also because I think there is some validity to simplicity, and I do think simpler inputs will make it easier to prevent constant mistakes and redundant data. Nonetheless, let's see. Nonetheless, pardon me for the big silence there, but nonetheless, that's my final for this project. I really appreciate all the things I've learned, and thank you for your time.